all day because Saturdays and Sundays I go hard, right?
Hmm.
So it's maybe everybody's rhythm is similar, or maybe, um, you know, anyhow, I am so looking forward to you reading this chapter to me.
I'm
Some
excited too. And you know what we were just talking about for anyone we just went live. So welcome everybody. Welcome back to the book club. We are focusing our time and energy and our accountability with each other in the next couple of weeks, months, however long it takes us. We're reading The Future of Business is Female, and this is by Ayo Gospodinova. She's also Bulgarian. We met through her Facebook groups, the Empire Circles. She's got a few spaces that she shows up. So when you buy the book, make sure you use her link. It starts with the Empire Circle. So make sure you use that actual link, theempirecircles.com, and it's io.theempirecircles.com. And if you navigate over to the book, you actually get into her free Facebook coaching and mentorship for a year. So it's an entire year of coaching with Ionova. She's amazing. She gets women to their first million and beyond. And she's done it with many, 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 many women before. So if you're interested in doing things in a feminine way by doing business, and it doesn't mean we're not going to work hard, and it doesn't mean this whole soft girl era where we're just going to do nothing. No, we're actually going to do the work, but we're going to do it in a way that works for us. Okay. So no more pushing hard, no more pushing through our own boundaries, limitations. We get to honor ourselves. So the conversation that Harp and I were just having actually was around which day of the week feels juicy to lay back a little bit on, and Harp was saying, I think Wednesday is that day where kind of want to do it from home, like no bookings for real estate, no, appointments at home, no skincare parties, just a chill work from home admin, take it easy kind of day, right? Is that what you
little
just said?
grocery shopping,
Yeah,
book club, journaling,
love it.
and yeah, just building this sort of vision and then coming back strong again on Thursday. I am gonna probably I'm curious to see what you have to say about, the whole hustle and grind because it is in me so much. I definitely, but I appreciate what you said. It's not that we're just gonna be all soft, but I feel like just that one day reset would be nice. So I'm
Yes.
very excited to hear from you and have you read.
Yes, I'm very excited to read too, because this is definitely, I so very selfishly, admittedly, started this group because for me with reading, I don't do great with books because I do have ADHD and I do have a million things going on. As you know, I have a 9 to 5 and I have my business and all these, different ventures and activities and things all over the place. And I love to support others. And so, yeah, I do tend to get a little squirrely at times. So if I don't have an accountability group and people who are really committed on something like this with me together, it tends to kind of get put to the side. And I definitely don't want to do this. And I find that when we come together, and I mean, we see this all the time with the skincare days where we do, Harp, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit actually to Rimmon and Korean skincare and how amazing it is and how like it's so quickly building this beautiful community.
Absolutely. What do I do when a call comes in? Should I have put it on airplane mode?
It is totally up to you. If you put it on
Or
airplane mode, it's going to kick you off internet.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'll just wait. That is my real estate colleague calling me. So misses me already. But say so even men have that they need to figure out their rhythm, especially when they're dads, and he's a new dad, by the way. So
Oh,
this is a new phase of his life, but I love the fact that he runs home because I'm like, good for you,
yeah.
because he's missing the baby and or needing to do something else. But yes, I will speak in regards to the amazing Korean skincare that we've all recently become aligned with. So yeah, it's. I mean, I know you have stuff to say about it because you're even more recent than me, but I was introduced to it a few months ago, and it is the number one K beauty brand out there. It is definitely. I'm going to say taking the world by storm. We've only been in North America. It's still under, is it under 2 years? Under 2 years. And it has not only changed my skin in so many ways, but it just brings this renewed energy with the women that are coming into my life. Now, of course, we say women because initially speaking, that is who is sort of drawn to the skincare, but with that are coming the men. There's probably about 30% men representing the line from Korea and the company. The founders are men. So, but it is definitely, I'm going to say, in terms of us even doing this book club and the timing of it and the future of business is women, it really is such a huge movement. And I think because women are so ready to get together again in real life, not just
Mhm.
on Zooms. I mean, there's definitely a benefits of us getting together online. We can sit in the comfort of our homes, offices, wherever, and connect with each other. So I love that part. But also, women are really craving to get together again, face to face, enjoy each other, lift each other up. So not only has it been completely changing our skin, but the whole energy behind it, I would say, is so powerful. And it's rooted in rituals. The products are all vegan, clean. I mean, you being an MD, of course, Relitza, I can't wait for you to dive in even deeper to be able to translate some of that, you know, the details of how the skincare line works and is created and all those things. But I'm waiting for you to, speak on those things. But all I can say is I love it. It's changed me. I feel really from the inside out. I'm starting to see changes on the outside, but what it's doing on the inside is incredible. And just the connection that I feel with the women that are coming into my life and into each other's lives, it is, I'm going to say it's probably the most exciting chapter yet.
Yeah.
I feel like it's brought a lot of excitement. And that's after having gone through some really tough stuff, which we won't get into today on my personal, side. I will obviously be sharing more and more just as far as the journey I've been on, post, car accident and all the different challenges mentally, physically, spiritually.
Mm.
But this is doing something for me, and just the energy of the women coming in is just lifting me up. And I feel like I'm lifting them up no matter what we're going through on the behind the scenes.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing because it really does normalize. We all go through our ups and downs. We all have, those circular moments in life where we're spiraling up. It sometimes feels like we're in the washing machine and we're just spinning in circles. And so, yeah, I just, I get these, I call them truth chills. But when somebody really arrives into their soul calling and into their really aligned path, and there's almost that paradigm shift that's happening, I get these full body chills, in medicine we call them paresthesias. I remember I was on a call with a physician one time. Intuitively, she came to me, we connected somewhere, and she said, I've been having these headaches just on one side, of course, on the feminine side. And so I was telling her, when you have, it sounds like it's calling your attention to focus more on, the feminine way, the feminine energy. So when we talk about energies, there's masculine and feminine and so on and so forth. And she said, I've never heard anyone explain that to me before. And she's like, I have paresthesias all over my body. She's like, I don't know what's happening to me right now. I said, that's okay, it's
Wow.
normal. That I call them full body chills, right? Or truth chills, because it's when somebody really finds that alignment and finds the truth through the matrix. Because a lot of us think we're running on the hamster wheel, we're constantly in self-rejection just to check the boxes and do the things and show up on time and be on schedule, and just so much in the structure and the doing and the doing and the doing. We don't actually often take the time to check in with ourselves. And this is men and women. I just got off a client call yesterday with a man who's been sort of like self-rejecting, denying his intuition, doing hard things anyways, even though his intuition says don't do it, or, speaking up in places where he knows he shouldn't say anything. So, and he's got major gut issues like for years. And so, it starts with that awareness of, where am I at now and what's really truly calling me? As you said, it feels expansive, it feels aligned, it feels so beautiful. And so, yeah, being able to finally show up for ourselves and say yes to those things. And we have those moments of death and rebirth where it's actually very healthy to slow down and turn in And, if we don't do it regularly, like you say, once a week, this is my day to turn in. If we don't do it regularly and find a pace that works for us, our body, mind, and spirit will make us at some point, right? If you don't hear the little whispers, if you don't feel the little rocks, my friend who trained me in NLP and hypnotherapy and timeline therapy, she used to say it like this, at first it's a whisper, then it's a little pebble, then it's a rock, then it's a boulder, then it's like, the Wizard of Oz house straight
Wow.
straight on your whole life, right? And so it's just beautiful to be able to come together, as you said, in person, to be able to slow down, to be able to do the skincare routine. Because to be honest, for me personally, my whole life, I have been searching for a skincare routine that's actually in integrity. Yes, the ingredients are important. Yes, the actual routine and how it works on my body is important, but even more so the energetics with it's created. The video, one of the first things I saw was paradigm shift. I was like, that's how I talk. This is my language. This
Your
is the
language.
nation. These are my people, right? And so,
Uh,
this is it's created on Jeju Island. It's done in a sustainable way. They have retreats and things for the people that are in the company that are doing really well. And I mean, you are the pink Cadillac Mary Kay lady. So for you to be like, this is what we're doing next, and this was 20 years ago, I'm like,
30,
30
30,
years ago. There's
actually
no better
30,
mentor.
33, I think 33 years ago, almost 33.
Yeah. You are a
Wow.
powerhouse. So when you said, this is what I'm doing, do you want to join? And there was literally no pressure. It was just like, this is going to be fun. It's going to be expansive, exciting, whatever. Like I knew before we even met for coffee
I know
that
you
we
did.
were doing something together. It was so clear to me. So that's how life gets to be. And I talk about this all the time. It gets to be easeful. Everything starts to just be so synchronistic and in flow, and it's juicy. And we do, of course, we have those moments. And especially when we take on too much, 9 to 5, single parent, or even, married parent, but still, like, we always have so many competing priorities. And, we do sometimes have to get that headache to remind us, okay, I was tired earlier. Now I have a headache. Now I really need to like shut everything off and slow down. And it takes us that much longer if we wait for the symptoms to arrive.
Right?
Comes back.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm so excited to, um, I wish there was it's gonna come to me, a better word than excited. I think actually everything feels very aligned. And as with each day comes more clarity, and sometimes clarity, a lot of people are like, well, you have to have clarity. Clarity comes with taking a step, in a different direction,
That's
right?
right.
So if you've been doing the same thing, which I think a lot of people have been for a while, and we have forgotten, what is the inside calling for? Um, and you might, even in the case of this opportunity, it's not like you're going to know that, wow, this is it, until you, first of all, make a decision and say, okay, yes. And even just saying that yes, and maybe you haven't even done anything yet, but all of a sudden, like in my case, somebody called me when I said yes, but I was still being wishy-washy because, as you know, real estate and financial services, that's kind of my key thing. Even though I've had a lot of success in this industry and I love it more than anything, I just was so, with all the therapies and everything that I'm doing, again, kind of all my recovery stuff that has to be done, because if not, then I don't get to do any work. But all of a sudden, when I said yes to this, just for my own personal self, bettering my own self-care routine, and of course there's an opportunity attached, uh all of a sudden it starts to unfold one step at a time. I had somebody call me and say, I know you're doing this, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, and then she asked for, well, you need to run with me. And from there, it just literally started to shift everything inside of me to the point where I was like, wow, okay, let's go. I'm that type of person. If somebody needs me, I do my very best that I can. But saying yes is huge, right? You're saying yes to somebody else, but you're saying yes to yourself in the process. You're saying yes to the universe, no matter what's going on the back end. I feel that doors start to open. more conversations are generated, and so many good things start to happen. So we are in for an incredible ride. And sorry, one second
That's
for
okay.
somebody. Oh my goodness. So as real estate again, I will answer
Hey,
that in a minute because I don't want to be kicked off of our Zoom, but not in a minute. I will answer this when we're done. But what I feel so excited about and aligned with is you coming into my life. And the way we met was so special and natural. Within minutes, we knew that we were meant to be. And now having you speak and share with all of your knowledge and your wisdom with all of us so that we can really live a more abundant life, a more aligned life. And I was so looking forward to this all day, all day. I'm like, I cannot wait. So for whoever is going to miss this and, watch the recording, try to work this into your day because we all deserve that time to talk, to engage, to learn, to open ourselves up because
Mhm.
life truly, is all about, I think, opening ourselves up and cutting out
Mhm.
the negative people or the
Mhm.
negative voices. I don't even want to say people, just negative voices. Sometimes people don't do it intentionally, but
Yeah.
aligning yourself with those that are like, okay, no matter what's going on, let's do this. Let's lock
Yeah.
arms. Let's lift each other up.
Yes.
Right? Like you always say, or let's say it takes a village. Um, it takes a village. Life just takes a village. So why are we trying to do all of this by ourselves?
Alone. Yeah, we shouldn't ever have to. And yeah, it's just the world we live in. And I'm just so, so grateful that you said yes. And it's so funny. I just want to put this out for whoever's watching is that this wasn't a strategic move at all. I had seen your posts and something about you just naturally attracted me. And there were some posts that you had put out there and they were so raw and real and authentic. And I was just like, oh, I love her. Like, I love your energy. And I didn't realize this until I looked back recently, but I had reached out and said, "Hey, we should do coffee." This was like in January, and I don't reach out to people to say we should do coffee. So the fact that it happened in January and now it's November and it happened again, I guess at the end of October, and you said yes, of course you said yes both times. I guess we didn't find a time in January, but it's just, it's really remembering that it really, for some people, and this was like old version of me, it would have taken me talking myself out of getting in my own way to actually send that message. Because I think a lot of us, especially as women, we have sister wounds that we don't talk about. We have those moments where we've been treated mean by the mean girls, or we've been
Right.
told that we're not good enough, or we've compared ourselves to someone else, or I could have easily gotten intimidated and thought, oh my gosh, like Harp is this big. I had no idea anything about like Mary Kay and the pink Cadillac and all the things but it's so easy to get, you know what I mean, overwhelmed and get into comparison paralysis and all of those things. And so I just think it's really important to remember when your intuition guides you somewhere, whatever that is, stop making it mean more than just taking that one inspired, surrendered, aligned action, and it's just so important to just do the thing that your spirit's calling you to do. And a lot of people are out of touch with their spirit, and that's the work that I do with people that come to me. It's really getting into that space of what is true for you, what is alignment, who are you really, who are you deeply, what's important to you, what are your values. But it's not on this kind of superficial circling things on a paper. It's really intuitive, and we go deep into your physical body to find out what your limitations or where they come from. Sometimes we do timeline therapy. Sometimes they're from generations and generations back. I had someone go back like 200 lifetimes ago to clear some
Wow.
of those emotions. Yeah. So, I mean, we just don't know what's holding us back consciously. Our conscious mind is only 5% of what creates our life. The rest, the 95%, we are functioning on unconscious programs. So when we finally show up for ourselves and in the support of someone else, I have another coach who's actually coaching, a larger collective to do some somatic work individually. And, my feedback to him just in the program and in general, because of the work that I do with clients, and I do this somatic work all the time, is that it's really important to have somebody that can actually hold the energetic container of unconditional love. It's like if you think about energy as a frequency scale, right? That lowest frequency is shame. And then it goes up to shame, guilt, fear, all the anger, all the things, right? And then it gets to the top of unconditional love and authenticity, right? Authenticity is really just being in truth. Yeah, that's the highest vibrational frequency, is that one consciousness, that unconditional love. And when we love ourselves unconditionally, we can show up exactly as we are. And that's where we all just get to be. So if I keep my string, it's kind of like a blanket. That's the way I describe it. If I play my role, you're going to get to play your role, and everyone else will. And then we create this beautiful tapestry, right? Whereas right now, a lot of people are trying to be in someone else's lane because they feel like they have to. And so we get in each other's way. And so that creates a lot of disturbance in the field, right? An energetic space of people being inauthentic. And that makes us feel like we should be inauthentic. And so, yeah, it's really important just to show up in that space of authenticity, to be able to actually claim who we are. And when we do, other people can show up for the things that we're not great at, and we can ask for that help. And something you shared earlier is really important, and then I'll start reading.
No,
Was
I
that
love it. I love it. I love it.
it's so important to show up authentically in terms of our vulnerability, right? To be witnessed in our vulnerability. Number one, it gives people permission to not be perfect, polished, and have to show up like prim and proper all the time. It gives people permission to be human, right? Number one. Number two, it actually allows us to take a deep breath and stop trying to show up any different than we are, right?
I'm gonna
And
make
then,
some notes.
yeah, absolutely. And it's, it'll be here in the recording too. And and then the other thing that it does when we show up in vulnerability, it gives people the opportunity to show up in compassion and grace for us. And in that, again, holding that energetic container of unconditional love, we get to show up for each other. And we get to recognize like, oh, that's her pain point, but it's actually my pain point too.
So just repeat that last. So it gives people permission to show up
with
in
compassion and
compassion.
empathy. Yeah. And a lot of people say, I used to say this all the time in the coaching program that I did with Alyssa Nobriga. One of my first questions was, Alyssa, I'm an empath. And before I could even finish saying what I was saying, she said, I'm going to stop you right there. When you feel for someone else, that means that you actually have that pain for yourself, but you're not willing to feel it. So you'll project that you're feeling it for someone else. But the truth is, you probably don't have a great relationship with your emotions. So I invite you to work with that as we go into this coaching space. But she said, anything that we say that we're empathing, we're taking on for others, that's actually something that, because it resonates with something inside of us, that's why it makes us feel. But it's safer to feel for someone else than it is to feel for ourselves.
Okay.
So when we're vulnerable and we're able to actually feel in front of others, we're almost giving that permission for them to also feel the things and move the energy. Emotions are just energy in motion. And so when we start to move them and start to feel them together, we get to release those lower vibrational frequencies and actually come to a place. There's always that rebound after you cry. It's like your endorphin surge and you feel good and you're happy and you're light. And so, those are the spaces we want to hold. Are spaces for vulnerability. And it's not just for women. I've had so many men call me, text me. One of my colleagues Zoom called me and he said, I know so many men that need your help. Why are you only helping women? And I'm like, I'm not only helping women, I help men too. But, and I don't even want to think of it as help, but it's really just reminding you of your greatness,
Well, no, you are helping them because they're stuck.
It is.
You really are helping any of us get unstuck to realize, this word is used a lot. Oh, I'm an empath. I'm an empath. I mean, I'm not saying I don't ever use it. I do, but I'm also aware that, maybe like, what does that mean? Or why do people say that over and over? And what's the importance? So of that, I want to ask you, so why is that important for us to recognize that that's something within ourselves that we see in someone else? So because we don't want to recognize, like, can you give me an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I can give you an example. I'm going to explain it first. So the reason it's important is because in order for us to shift anything energetically in our own lives, we have to take personal responsibility. That is our opportunity, right? When something triggers us, when we get triggered, right? Let's say you come and you tell me a story of a client who was like super rude to his wife or whatever. She was rude to him. However, the story happened. And I get really worked up and angry. I feel it in my system, right? So that's an example. And then I'm like, oh, I feel for that person, that client of yours, poor woman or poor man, or, like I feel so bad. We should do something about it. I'm projecting a trigger for me because I have experienced it. Likely as a child, I've seen my mother be treated that way or my father be treated that way. And then I have attracted relationships that have, mimicked those kinds of interactions and those energies. So unless I realize when I go home that night, maybe not in the moment, but when I reflect later at night, and that's why reflection is so important, like what were the things that really, hit home for me today? And being able to hold space for that and actually being able to work it. And the way that I coach, I give my clients tools to take with them and then use them for the rest of their lives. I don't develop codependency where I need you to re-enroll. That's one thing that just drives me nuts about coaching in the industry. You shouldn't have to re-enroll. Now, when you meet another growth edge and it's your coach that supports you in that growth edge or that paradigm shift or that, up leveling or whatever, that's a different story. But you shouldn't have to keep going to coaching over and over and over again. You should be able to get tools and do them on your own, and then pivot to other types of coaching. Sometimes, there's personal, there's business, there's relationship, there's all different kinds of coaches for different topics. But I truly believe that, and sometimes we get stuck in a rut and sometimes it takes a few cycles because we're so holding on to our suffering that we're not willing to change it. And that's okay. We have to accept when the body is resistant. And that's the other thing that, I like to tell and remind clients and coaches that, if you're trying to get into the body or to do somatic work, like if you're going into the body, but the client is telling a story, they're still stuck in their heads. Trust that they're not ready to go there yet. Don't try to force it, because when you force it, it's almost like forcing a door open. You're going to damage the lock, right? Like you're going to damage the workings of the person, and that is their safety mechanism to go in their head. So just trust it, be gentle, develop the relationship. Maybe their system doesn't trust yet that you can hold the space, or maybe you genuinely can't hold the space and they should be supported by someone else who actually can. And so anyway, that was a long-winded answer to say that in order to actually up level ourselves to a different frequency, we have to claim and recognize that, oh, okay, that bothered me because it's actually mine as well. This is a mirror for me. And I get to address the thing that irritated me about that. And I get to go back and work, when did this happen for me? Oh, when I was 4 years old, I walked in and my parents were fighting. Okay, so let me go into that experience. And again, I suggest that if you're new to somatic work, you definitely work with someone. That way, you know what it feels like, because people can get lost in some of those experiences. And some people have had really traumatic experiences where they can actually develop PTSD after the fact, because you actually haven't accessed that unconscious memory. And once you do, it can actually come back in your dreams. It can come back in the daytimes. And so it's really important to work with a trauma specialist if you've gone through the type of trauma that, it comes back in those kind of flashes, and you get outside of your capacity, or we call it the window of tolerance, but you kind of bounce out of reality for a little while and you get stuck in looping. That's when you really need to see a specialist for working this. But I hope that makes sense, and that's kind of describes and explains.
Totally. Not like, yeah, it's a lot, but it's very interesting, isn't it? All of our programming, our being stuck, or our being triggered. Um, in a way, it's simple, but then it's kind of not simple.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming, right? Especially when you're new to learning about it. And what I always invite people to recognize is that you don't really have to understand it to
Hmm.
show up for it.
Just be
That's
a
why,
little bit open to understanding what is being, I would say, like, if you're going to do this type of work, take it in. Again, even with this, I would rewatch, not to like totally fully understand, but then I think you'll just start to notice and pick up on things, the way that you deal with things, the way that other people deal with things. And I would say just to make it so that life, a lot of it is blocks. I think there's just a lot of blocks, right? Things happen, they make us unhappy, or we have different fears. And, a lot of it has to do with um, our own lack of understanding of ourself
Mm-hmm.
because we look at other people, right? So that we don't have to look at ourselves.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
another empath pattern and trait. Yeah. And we're told our whole lives, oh, you're a woman, therefore, as a mother, you have to sacrifice yourself and you have to put your kids first. As a wife, you have to, do all the first, second, and third, and fifth, and 10th thing. And you have to, oh, you're tired? Well, too bad. You have to show up for your husband anyway. And it's like, so many layers of self-rejection that we forget that we even exist sometimes. Like we're
And
even
it's
part
not
of.
even the man who's, it's what I don't know if it's a generational thing, I'm not sure, but somehow
Programming.
we as women just, it's not that the man is like, oh, you have to show up for me
That's
because
right.
I'm the man.
That's right.
It's, I have a hard time sometimes. My husband will be like, leave it. Like, what are you doing? Leave.
Yeah.
I like, go do your thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, but before I do, I have to do this. I have to put this away. And he's like, no, you don't.
Yes.
So, and then I'm mad because it's like, I mean, I'm trying not to be mad, but
Yeah.
because I've had it where it's like, I'm like, no, 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 I'm doing this. And I'm like, where is that coming from? But I
Yeah.
think in many ways, my mom was a lot like that in a good way. Like she definitely
Mhm.
was like, you guys go do your other stuff. I have this. Like she was a very, very
Mhm.
nurturing, as was and is my husband's mom, very much like, no, 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 you guys go do stuff. Like I got the kitchen, I got the cooking, I got this. But again, we just take on more, more, more and don't know how to ask for help.
That's right.
And maybe men do the same thing. Like,
Yeah,
like they have their own stuff.
that's right.
Do they always have to put out the garbage, or do they always, can they say, hey, one of the kids can go do it,
Right.
right? Whether
Yeah.
they're a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. Then at the end of the day, there's that whole thing of, uh, like I say, well, I'm not putting out the garbage. Guys do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
unless,
you know what? It's
unless I have to.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm like, no. So then we get into a whole different complex. But anyways, it's like, life is a beautiful thing, right? There's so many fun things that we can look at in our day-to-day living.
Mhm.
Um, and I love that. I love the fact that we have you here to just kind of, talk about things that behind the scenes, I would say, affect how we show up on our day to
Mhm.
day in our
Yeah.
business, in our outside, interactions, in our relationships with our other than our family circle,
Mhm.
and what we're carrying with us to that to not be fully open because maybe stuff happened in the home front at the home
That's
front,
right. That's
right?
right.
Something's going on, or, again, the people that you live closest with, that's where all of the triggers and the stuff comes from. So it is important. And I'm fully open to doing that, working on the stuff within the family,
Mhm.
and I know there's so many different things, right? We talk about setting boundaries, but then it's like, okay, well, you can't set boundaries until you're clear on yourself. Like, what do you yourself
Mhm.
like, how are you showing up? What bothers you?
That's right.
What areas. So no, I'm totally into this work, and I
Mhm.
don't even know what that even means yet,
Yeah.
but I'm super excited about just having you with us, because you are so good at it. I mean, gosh, like there, your background as an MD, but then this whole, and can you actually just tell us like what it is, that
Mhm.
you do, who you are? I think that's really important. And I'm sure you say it on all of your other calls, but I would just, because I love listening to it. I want to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you do that? And then we'll
Thank you.
read. Then we can read.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. And yeah, so I'm Relitza Spasova. I I studied medicine, I graduated, I was really passionate about obstetrics and gynecology. I was so excited to go into it. It was a perfect blend of like longitudinal family medicine and surgery because I just love both worlds. I love babies. One of my favorite things about obstetrics and gynecology is actually being in the room when a man becomes a father. It happens instantly. You can almost feel as soon as the baby arrives into like out of that portal and into the world, this everything changes about a man and he becomes a father in that instant.
Oh my
And
gosh, separate. I just wrote that down. We need to, for the men,
yeah,
do a talk on this because,
absolutely.
okay, yeah, awesome. Wrote it down.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, we're so spirit tribe. It's so juicy. So yeah, I think to me, I was called sort of in this more spiritual space. And I've kind of been doing this my whole life. When even I had flashbacks a while ago when I was grade 10 or 11, I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do? What do I want to apply for university? I used to ask, like, isn't a career where you can just support people? Because people would come to me, they would dump all their stuff, and then they would suddenly feel better within an hour, and they would be fine, and they'd be like, "Saved my life, you changed my life." I'm like, I don't even remember what I did, what I said, but
Yeah.
great, like, I'm so happy for you. And so, I looked for that career. I used to think, okay, maybe psychology or psychiatry. My dad said, don't do that because, like, you end up taking on everyone else's burden and you end up losing it. All the psychiatrists that I know are this, that, and the next. And so I was like, okay, well, that's a little judgy, but all right, I'll take
Yeah.
my dad's guidance as it
Yeah.
comes. And so I kind of just, it's been an interesting journey navigating, but to me, life kind of, the harder I worked, the more it showed me that that's not the way. And so, I had exams and just different things, the way that they happened showed me that that's not my path. And so I applied for residency. I had an amazing interview in New York, and I sabotaged it at every single turn. It was this unconscious thing because I had just had my son. He was just over a year, maybe just under a year actually. And I just remember not being ready to go into that clinical practice. Like I just wanted to be home with my baby. I didn't want to do it. And everything in me it sabotaged. I went to the bathroom when like they were about to call me up. Like they tell you certain things when you go for interviews, don't do this, don't do this, don't talk about that, don't, and every single thing I did wrong. And it was so interesting because I would talk about these things after when I was teaching, and it actually saved so many of my students. So everything comes full circle when we go through it. But anyway, years went by. I went to actually teach. So I taught medical school. I taught high school life science. I created a health class for it was a graduation requirement. And then 2020 happened, and all of our lives kind of got reshuffled. I was living in Aruba at the time, came back to be in Vancouver with my parents, and I really had that moment of awakening again. I was in the bathtub. I was listening to Oprah and Deepak Chopra, and I couldn't focus for more than like 15 seconds, 20 seconds. And I realized something's not right. Like something is really not okay here. And I remember putting my head under the water and listening and realizing how loud our world is. And I could hear the furnace, and I could hear, and this was in Anmore. So it's very peaceful there. This is outside of the city. And still, it felt like the world is so loud. I need to get away. And so when I got out, I looked in the mirror and I couldn't recognize myself. And that was that moment. I looked at my soul for the first time in so long. I had been so deep in self-rejection. I was in such a toxic relationship, working 4 jobs, like single mom. It was such a storm that moment I caught myself and I was like, okay, come back home. Come back home to yourself. And
Wow.
so I sat down, I started journaling, I started praying. I mean, and then all of a sudden the synchronicity started to happen. And it was like, okay, I took one day and I just wrote out everything. I know that I'm going to work a government type of job, a 9 to 5, while I develop my coaching program. And I didn't even want to do coaching at that time. It just all came so quickly, just downloads after downloads. I even wrote it on this big poster paper. I have to have it somewhere. But and then I laid out the next 10 years, and I didn't even know that that's what was happening. It's like time collapsed and just downloaded in that one moment. And ever since then, it's just kind of been evolving, and it's just so beautiful. And so yeah, so now I do, I went from MD to now life alchemist. It came through one time as I was driving, authenticity is a really powerful word. That was my word of the year, and it just carried through. Life alchemist is like, what does that even mean? It's, that holding that space for transformation. Alchemy is really the change of state from one metal to another. And the way that it happens is through holding the frequency of what you're creating, right? And so going from copper to gold, it changes states in a frequency. So it's the same thing. Life alchemy, we go into the somatic work, we go into the body to transform shame, which is a low vibrational frequency, into unconditional love, into acceptance, into grace, into compassion. And so the way that we hold ourselves, like you said, we have so many judgments of the world, of ourselves, how we stop ourselves, all of those blocks, they're all just judgments. And, things that we think about the world when they're mostly not true, actually. It's, we picked it up from our parents, from a TV show, from generations back, the way things used to be, but the way things are not that way anymore. And so we really get to ask ourselves, what is the life that we actually are being called? And again, having a strategic approach to setting goals is very different than having an intuitive connection with ourselves and spirit, whether you call it God, whether you call it Jesus, whether you call it Muhammad, whether you call it Buddha, it doesn't matter what you define it as, it's the same energetic frequency of truth. And so when we align, and you use the word align a lot, and I love it because that is so in that frequency of when we realize, when we recognize, when we finally get to know ourselves outside of all of the judgments and programming and conditioning and, even expectations. And when you said boundaries, one of the most important things is to actually check our boundaries with ourselves. Because just because someone asked you to do something, you should be checking in with yourself and saying, do you want to do it? Do I have capacity for it? And then say yes or no. Because if you would love to do it, but you don't have capacity, you're going to end up being resentful to that person that you said yes. And why? Because you don't want to say no. Why? Because you feel guilty. Oh, there's that low vibrational frequency coming in again, right? And so alchemy is really transforming and being able to stay in truth more times than not. It's not about being perfect, but it is about showing up for yourself first and foremost, so that you're not projecting the shame, the guilt, the anger, the frustration, whatever it is. You're able to actually take it into your own mind, body, spirit, your system, and process it on your own, so that you become a very safe container for yourself and then also everyone else around you.
I love that. My
So that was a
goodness.
very long-winded, what do I do?
No,
I'm a
my God.
storyteller.
It's so good. It's just so good. Um, Safe container for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Talk about like when you start to think of it that way, it is simple, but the reason it's complicated is A, we've never been told or taught, most of us, to start with thyself.
That's right.
I don't think we, we do it in different ways, indirect ways,
Mhm.
but sometimes that's not enough. As we know, humans, it's like there's people everywhere and different things and different teachers. Think about all the different voices that we even let into our children's lives, right? And grateful for all the good teachers out there, the ones who've inspired. But I'm like, I totally see why parents are starting to homeschool their children more and more and more. Because I know for all the years that I went to school, there was maybe two good ones, maybe three, that and those were the ones that you remembered forever because they shaped your life. But I think it's so important, like we're so busy running around coaches and sports and this and that. And if you think about it, I can name so many coaches that my kids have had for different sports that I'm like, oh my goodness. And now I look back and I'm like, unbelievable. Like, and I'm a pretty I don't know what you would
You're a
say, like,
very conscious parent. I have to say, when you started talking about the way that you parent your kids, I was blown away because it is very rare to have such a conscious parent to hold space and to just give permission for them to go through their process and be gentle and
I
graceful. And
try, but I'm sure like there's so many things for sure that I could say, oh, you know, I at the end of the day, it is what it is, and all you can do is try to do better. Um, but we try to have open dialogue, and there's lots of things that I'm proud of, and there's other things, that I'm maybe like, uh-oh. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, we try to keep the dialogue very open. And I was lucky enough to have, parents that were very open. I think especially starting with my dad, you know, even though their background, like he didn't have really his mom, biological mom passed when he was about 7, and his two younger brothers, one was I think 5 and one was a newborn, and they really were raised by another mom.
Mhm.
But that's a whole different story. But at the end of the day, my dad made a conscious choice. He was a great communicator. Wow. And I think he really actually helped my mom, who was, many children. She was kind of the youngest, and very, I don't know what another word is for that sort of child that is the youngest, but I don't want to call it spoiled. But it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what other word there is. But anyways, but again, not necessarily knowing how to communicate, more shy, more, but as she was married to him longer and longer, learned to open up.
Mhm.
And he was a great communicator. So I really feel that that's where my gift of communication, the at least the desire to be open, doesn't mean it
Mhm.
always goes well, and it doesn't mean that I always hold back or have patience, even with my own children. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, anyways, a work in progress. But no, I thank you. Again, that was not to sort of say, when somebody gives you a compliment, but also just to be vulnerable and to say, hey, look, trust me, I look at it always as, man, especially when they're at a certain age where they have, your children have their own
Mhm.
voice and their own
Mhm.
challenges and their own thoughts. And the world is so busy now, which I
Mhm.
think definitely contributes to this is why we need to do this type of work to remind us. And this is
Mhm.
where the Riemann reminds me,
That's right.
getting in front of people and connecting and having those not just rituals that we do as far as our skin, but just the being with one another, connecting, learning, and like growing, right?
Mhm.
Continuing to and peel the layers
That's
back to get
right.
to the core of who we are.
Yeah.
So that, as you know, my podcast, when I do go live again, it's again the last time I did one interview, and then I had my car accident in 2019, and the podcast is Her Soul Speaks. I'm so excited because I feel as you've come into my life, and all the other amazing women, but specifically just when I met with you, we just had such a great synergy that I knew, I'm like, man, I always knew there was another sister that I needed, another soul sister that I wanted. Uh, I could feel that there was something that needed to just come together, and we would then do all this great work for ourselves first. And then through our conversations and dialogue, I just love dialogue. Um, to be able to then have others come into our community and just say, oh my goodness, I totally understand. Like, because as we share our experiences, so, you having your podcast, me relaunching mine, as we grow everything together, all the things, right? Working on ourselves again, physical, right? Mental, spiritual. Um, it's just so amazing that I feel excited every day
Mhm.
knowing that I have you in my corner. And I know you, I don't, not I hope, I know you feel it as well. I know you feel it as well. So I'm like, okay, we've got this.
Yeah.
And
No,
not to mention all the other amazing, soul sisters and our brothers who are waiting to, join us. But it's life is honestly, it is meant to be great. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of us have gotten lost along the way. So much has happened over the last few years,
Mhm.
with COVID. Um, and people are, excuse me, talk. Oh, something got stuck in my throat.
Well, so it's interesting because, as you were sharing what came through, so I just wanted to remind, the audience, also maybe yourself, but when we use the word try, we're actually guaranteeing that we're not going to get there. So just recognize, this is something I learned through NLP. And I had a lot of judgments about NLP, neuro
Did I say
linguistic.
try? Did I say
So
try?
it's an unconscious thing. We do it
That's what I
all
was
the
going to ask you.
time.
Let me know
Yeah.
when, exactly when.
Yeah, and so it's really important, I try to have conversations, or I try to hold space,
Mm.
but you do it very well. And so, you do hold space. But just that reminder, because unconsciously we sabotage what we're creating by saying that we're trying, right? Because we want to be humble, but that's like the exact
Mm.
opposite of what we want to create, right?
No more humble. No more humble.
No
Okay.
more humble. Yes,
Claim it.
exactly.
So
And
I
and you are
said,
genuinely humble by actually saying, yes, I'm doing well and I'm still open to learning. It's not about even judging ourselves as better or worse, because that's the other part of the duality. It's like it's not about being better or worse, but really just being open for life to show us and to evolve and to learn and to grow. And it's a never-ending journey. So it's almost like, when we say better, that to me, I almost see an end game there, and there is no end game. It's like we're always just present, and we're perfect exactly where we are, because we're here. We'd be somewhere else if if we weren't meant to be here, right?
that's
So
a tough one for me because I tell you, I live for that. I don't know. That's a tough one I have a hard time with and maybe that's like very deep rooted. I just love to wake up and think another day, another chance to be better. And I know
yeah.
maybe there's a different way of wording it, which I'm open to, but something gets me excited
Mhm.
about getting up and being better than I was yesterday because
And if that's what works, though, if that's the passion that
guys,
you have and it works for you, then of course keep it, right?
I'm
But
just
for
open
some
to we're
people,
rewording it maybe, but I want to see again, because I get up and I feel so much energy
mm,
when I actually feel like I am in alignment, like this is it. I'm doing it.
mm.
I'm being better.
See,
You
that's
know, I'm
beautiful, because you're coming from a place of honoring your alignment. So I always say the come from is everything. So you're not coming from looking back and saying, "Ooh, these are the three things I'm going to change today because I did bad this on these three things yesterday and I'm going to do better." You're not coming from a place of shaming, blaming, judging, guilting yourself. You're coming from a place, as you just explained, of, oh yeah, this is juicy alignment. This is exciting. It's expansive. It's your passion. It's your purpose. And you're kind of like you're striving for that potential, right? And when you strive for that potential all the time, then we evolve. And to me, that's evolution. I think the come from. So the energy with which you're doing it is beautiful because it's alignment, right? That is the first word you used, is that's what wakes me up. That's what calls me. You can feel it in your system that it's energizing. Now it's different to someone who wakes up in the morning and feels guilty and shame and small and, oh, now I have to do better. Like I have to do better than yesterday. And you're working hard to do better. And you're judging yourself to be better. And it's a very different energy, that energetic sinkhole of that judgment of, oh, I'm not good, therefore I have to do better, versus, today's even greater, even more aligned, even more momentum, even more, and so it is a building, right? It is
and
an
and
evolution.
and and what I love about what you're saying is I'm actually able to get excited again,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, but I can only say that the reason I feel that is for many years now. So again, since my car accident in 2019, um, it has not been easy to wake up and feel alive and to just say, okay, today I'm going to do better and be better, because it was just literally about survival.
Yeah.
How do you keep the identity of the pre lively and like wake up every day and feel amazing? I mean, I've had days prior to, in the previous years, of course, yes, there's dips, but this was different. This was one where I was all of a sudden going, why don't I feel that? I don't even know how to feel it. I don't know what is alignment when you're just trying to hold it together. And for so long and so many years, it's been okay, how do I, keep the family going, keep my career going without exposing that I have all this stuff going on in the background physically, fear and all kinds of craziness in my mind, and but just being able to try to show up so that I can maintain, not even maintain, like not grow, but just hang on for
Yes.
dear life, and then make it look like it's just great.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm doing it, and wait, go home and just crash and
Mm,
not want to talk to anybody. Knowing that the thing that I love to do most is engage with people, lift other people up, inspire them,
mhm,
inspire my clients. I
mhm,
don't just sell houses, I build relationships.
mhm,
My goal is when I meet someone, I want to do all those things. But when you can't, again, you said a lot of very key things that are, holding space for yourself.
mm.
There's so many great things here. And I think that's what's key is finally, I feel like it's now when you've seen the dark side at an extreme and it's dark and dark and dark and dark and dark and you wake up every day and it's just like, oh my goodness. And I'm sure many people can relate to that.
Mhm.
Um, but all of a sudden there's this like little light,
Yes.
and then the next day the light's just a little bit more, a little
Yeah.
bit more. And you're walking towards something, maybe not even knowing exactly what it is, but then all of a sudden something
Mhm.
finally brings you to this place and you start to align with people, or maybe you've had enough of
Yeah.
just, it can't if you don't get a grip
Yeah.
and intentionally like be aware of what is going on inside of me. No. And you fight with yourself to say no. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know if fight is the right word, but no, literally just saying no, 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 no. You're not going down the rabbit hole. We are going the other way.
That's right.
And so you start to win little wins along the way.
Mhm.
And now I'm ready, no matter what, no matter how hard it
Mhm.
gets, no matter what it is, what's happening on the backside. I know that together, and I feel that there's something so important in regards to women coming together, people coming together to lift each other up.
Oh,
And perhaps I wasn't as open because I was hiding from the world,
mm,
hiding, not wanting to share, not wanting to be vulnerable about what was actually going on,
yeah.
because half the time I didn't know myself, right?
Mhm.
And so then being vulnerable and saying, look, like, and again, I didn't do it publicly really, but like a lot through therapy, different therapies. And it takes a while to find the
Mhm.
right thing that's going to work,
That's right.
and you've got the system and people saying, well, like, take these drugs or go
Yeah.
to this psychiatrist. And having done that and just thinking, oh my goodness, is this really my life? Like, I
Mm,
can't live like this. I don't even
mm,
feel like me.
yes.
I would rather be fearful every day than feel what I'm feeling now, which is nothing,
Mm,
right? Things like
yeah.
that. So then saying, no, you know what? I am going to get a grip.
Mhm.
And I love when you close your eyes like that because you are so amazing. You got to explain. I do that too, but I not. I love when yeah, tell me what you're feeling or what you're getting.
Yeah, no, it's
Mm.
beautiful. It's just feeling into everything that you're saying because sometimes, the physical or 3D, what we see and what we hear, it's what we feel, and when the energy moves, it just moves a lot smoother when I'm not looking, and it just, whether it's something coming through or what's moving through you.
And what's interesting is when I talk about it, I get so much pain like in my neck,
Yeah.
um, in my head. And it's almost like this, it's so I know it's still a work in progress, but that's okay because we'll keep doing the work.
Yeah.
At least I am seeing a brighter light.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we got this. We're gonna be good. I got
Yeah.
all my sisters and my brothers.
Absolutely.
I'm
It's
like,
funny when you said about the podcast, it just dropped in so much, like this entity came over me, and it was like that moment was the moment of your awakening and when we say yes to doing the work, when we actually say yes to doing the thing, it can be we are called to the reckoning of actually seeing all the things that are not aligned. And so when we have that moment of actually making the choice to choose ourselves, sometimes it gets a lot worse before it gets better, because there are so many ways that we're in self-rejection, and it's like, how do we even start to fill our cup when our cup is full of holes? We have to patch the holes first, and then the cup can start to fill, right? And
mm,
so it is recognizing that we're all a work of art, And I really truly believe that, you know, our evolution doesn't end. Um, and so it's not to say being okay with where you're at is where we're stopping. It doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean that today has a really beautiful purpose as well as the next day, right? Because if you're not going up the steps, you're not suddenly going to end up on step 111 if you didn't take all the steps before that. And each and every single one has such a beautiful gift. So that's where, I mean, I think slowing down is really important, giving yourself that credit, you know, celebrating the wins, reminding each other of our greatness. It's so easy when we're in that. And again, that's the balance of the masculine and the feminine energies, you know, the being versus the doing. If you don't like masculine and feminine, it's really like that being energy is the feminine, that vessel holding, you know, closing your eyes and really holding that vision and magnetizing it rather than constantly going out to chase it. The doing is the masculine, right? And so we have, as women, embodied so much masculine energy that we've even forgotten, our system has forgotten where we're at. That's why we have so many hormonal issues on our planet right now. Yes, it's the food, but it's also the way that we choose to do things in a way that is outside of how we were created. And it's about balance, right? It's, well, not balance, I like harmony. A lot of people use the word balance and it's understood in our sort of lingo, but it's really creating that space of, you know, that giving and receiving, that doing and being. You know, my mentor coach, she says it's the doobie doobie do. You know, a lot of people are just do. And a
Well,
lot of
what about
people,
the opposite of that, which
well, the
is
soft
just,
girl era, that's the problem. Like the soft girl era right now. And I'm actually guilty of having a lot more feminine energy these days, because when the whole coaching thing started, I was like, I got to throw myself totally into the feminine and forget the masculine. And so, you know, it's finding that do be do energy where you're like, okay, sometimes you have to show up to be, and then there's the action that follows if you ever want to get somewhere. Right? And so if you ever want to create anything, it needs structure, it needs logic, it needs order, right? That's the masculine. But then there's the feminine of, okay, how do we create structure, logic, and order from a place of inspiration and intuition, again going into the feminine, not from a place of I'm going to think my way out of this or into this. It's not about being up here, it's about tapping in, right? It's about really coming from source and saying, okay, I'm going to take, that's why I always say inspired, surrendered, because we're not holding on to the end result. We're not even looking at the end result. As you said, we're taking that moment by moment, step by step, you know, day by day. Inspired, surrendered, aligned action. We can't do it
mm,
without the aligned action, right? But that's the masculine. But how are we leading?
inspired.
Surrendered,
Mm-hmm.
aligned action.
Mm. Wow. Oh man. Inspired, surrendered. Like I can't tell you how what I love about what you do
Mm,
is you literally make everything so clear
mm,
and you simplify.
mm,
And this is where I know for me, where I thrive. And it's also, again, I need a little bit more, like, as I get back into this sort of vibrational energy, I feel that this is actually, this makes it beautiful for me because that is where I know, like, when I am waking up inspired, it's because I have surrendered,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
And when I've surrendered, the alignment happens.
Mhm,
And I've always been great at taking action, but I take
mhm.
action, especially when I have surrendered. That brings me inspiration
Yeah.
and it brings me alignment. And I'm just like, I could look at those words all day, every day, and do a check in and literally feel on those words alone.
Mm,
Okay, am I inspired? No, I'm not inspired. Well, what's going on? Are
mhm,
you not surrendering? Because surrendering is something, it's not just like, oh, you surrender. You can surrender today and then, and or now, and then 3 hours later, be back in that something happens and you're not in surrender
that's right.
phase.
Yeah.
But the more you do it, surrender means like let go.
Mhm.
in the simplest form for me, it's let go.
Mhm.
No, let go, connect,
Yes.
slow down,
Yes.
connect with source, God,
Yes.
you know? And when you do that, and again, we have so many more things to talk about because again, I love um slowing down, breathing,
Mhm.
and I'm going to do it more and more because life just truly becomes magical.
Mhm.
In the sense that no matter what you're going through, you really, really, and the spiral, once you shut that down, um, even just getting into neutral. Well,
Mhm.
that is surrender. Is it neutral or would it be, what am I? Yeah, I think it would be neutral is fair because you're like this way, this way. Like, is that fair? Like neutral would be good for surrender? I don't know. I think so. You know, you can push someone this way, the car goes this way, that
Yeah.
way. It's like
Yeah.
you're just neutral. You're
Yeah.
just neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You're
that
just
is
coasting. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So that is those four words alone. And we can keep going and going because
Mhm.
that is though where I feel I know how. And I
Mhm.
think the reason I know how is because having been so stuck in a previous way of being so do, right? And then I would say for sure more than anything, my 2019 accident, because people always say, well, what is the lesson or what is the I had to learn so many times just to get through the day, just to
Mhm.
surrender.
Mhm.
And now is a new phase. It's like, okay, even surrendering to that fear that can consume your thoughts, especially for me, like when I'm going to sleep, it's like, oh gosh, and it just fear creeps in.
Mhm.
But the more aware you are of what these words mean to you in your life and how you show up just by staring at them, I feel you can really reset yourself
Mhm.
and start to move the needle in your life if you're
Mhm.
feeling stuck, because that's for
Mhm.
most people where they get depressed, right?
I'm
And
gonna
things
write
start
that on my business cards now. I love that the inspired surrendered aligned action. Yeah, that's a really good point. Because they are actually it's almost like a portal on their own.
totally,
Thank
totally.
you. Thank you
Should we
for
do the
that.
book?
Thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Okay, so on the last episode, I did read the beginning, so the prologue, and also some of the words of inspiration from other people. There were so many people that have given, reflections on this book. We're going to dive right into page 13, lucky 13, and the introduction right now.
I'm going to try not to be rude while I'm eating,
Please eat
but I
away.
have I have to eat. I'll just kind of go to the side so not to be rude, but I want to listen, eat, and then I'll be hitting the road and heading home.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Do
okay.
what you got to do. I love it. It's 2:25 a.m. and I can't fall asleep because my phone is exploding with payment notifications. Every second I hear the sound ping, ping, ping. Thousands of sales in less than 12 hours. Every time a new sale comes through, my heart beats faster. And it's also my birthday. My business has been growing exponentially over the past few years. But this feels different because I finally found work-life balance while doing something I genuinely love and deeply care about. A few months ago, heavy rain started pouring out of nowhere on a sunny day in Costa Rica. As I stood there watching the downpour, I recorded a video and said out loud, "This is how money pours into my business. Let's make it rain." I sent it to my mom and she replied, "So be it, my girl." And it happened today, on my birthday. I'm immersed in the celebration of sales rainfall, with payment notifications pouring in nonstop like a tropical rain. 12 hours ago, I posted a special birthday offer on my social media and emailed my list. I honestly didn't expect things to escalate this fast. No ads, complicated funnels, or a team involved. My only intention was to have fun, offer something valuable, and celebrate my birthday. but the most magical thing happened. Thousands of incredible souls joined my world right on my birthday. This is soft power. This is the feminine way of doing business. Pleasurable, effortless, joyful, and for the highest good of all involved. And that's a note taken from Io's journal. I'm like full body chills right now. I don't know how you're feeling, but how was that?
Honestly, so good because I told you this when I first met you, but now I really know. I know there's a course coming
Mm-hmm.
and it's you and I.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I can't tell you for how many years I have been approached by one of them, actually, a really, really good friend. And this would have to go back to 20 when he first did my website, um, which is called Life by Harp. And the podcast is on there. And it's 20, I feel like it's 2014 or 2016 or 20, I don't know, somewhere in there. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, no, you've got to teach and coach. You've got, so I did do a lot of this stuff, a lot of, Life by Harp, just talking, from 2016 onward. And I love it. I love being able to wake up as a work in progress, get myself straight in there, get the alignment happening. I feel like this is, again, like I told you, like just that idea of being better. So
Yeah.
I've always, and then I would speak. I'd turn on the camera and I'd speak again, all of this up until 2019. And then even some after, I still, but again, challenges crept in and it just sort of started to kind of, was too much because again, you have to take care of yourself, right? You have to take care of yourself. And when you don't, you can't show up. So when something's wrong, you need attention, you have to learn. And that's something I didn't know. But now, as you spoke that, I literally had, like you said, full body chills. I know that there is a program I've had when I do post videos. I've had different, whether it be realtors or different people say, can I have coffee with you? Can I meet with you? That is a common thing. And I always wonder, okay, well, like, what is it? What it is it's the time. The time is now. It is for the greater good of everyone, including myself, but everyone who is ready to rise and ready to rise to literally live and create anything that they desire to live their best life. Are you about to scream?
So
Right? And I've always known, and I've tried to force sometimes along the way, a different sister here and a different sister there, but it just wasn't quite right. I felt like I was trying to, you cannot have someone who's not wanting to do that work. Is it Gabe? Yeah, he needs you. Um, but that's what I felt. That's what I felt. And I am going to order this book because I feel like even when you said the future of
the
business is
future of
women,
business is female.
it's
Yeah.
female.
Yeah.
And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 20, so 1992,
Yeah.
right? And now it's finally caught up. The future of business is female. I'm like, wow. So I'm all for it. I can't wait to get together to read again once we've read a bit more. We'll have more and more of, our soul sisters jumping on because if you weren't on it today, watch the replay.
That's right.
Me and you, best conversation ever. I love this time. I'm so grateful for this time. It's so special. It's so beautiful. How do you feel?
Thank you. I feel like this is exactly, and it's funny, I haven't read this book yet. So my arrival to this portal is the exact same as everyone's here. And I love that. I love doing this thing together. And I love that with Io, I felt the same way. I'm like, she speaks my language. She's saying the words that I say. We're on that same mission, that same movement. We have a collective movement that we're called to. And I love that you said we're going to create a course together, because authenticity calling is a term that it's a movement. And so it was the podcast. So I have that. And I keep hearing that I have to write a book and make it like a coach in a book with a workbook. And so it's such a beautiful, again, calling forward. And I've wanted to make a course for such a long time, but it hasn't been right on its own. So when you said that, I'm like, this is what I'm waiting for. I love it.
And I love that it's
Yes.
not about the funnels and it's not about
No.
the um any of that techie stuff, although I love that you are techie actually. I'm
Mm.
noticing I'm like somebody's techie.
I'm very techie.
I love it, but
Yeah.
the rest, I know for sure like the gift is execution.
Yes.
Like when I go. And then of
Yes.
course that's been hard to learn that I don't have the energy to go the way that I am
Mm.
used to or am known for. In the past
Mm.
people would say, gosh, like reputation is the Energizer bunny, like nonstop on like some kind of whatever battery that just doesn't die out.
Yeah. And then you feel like
Well,
you have to keep it up all the time though, and that's not healthy, right? Like,
no. So I'm so excited to learn a better way from you. And I think from what I've seen, like you have expressed that if we kind of combine, I think it's so beautiful
it's
because we
so
like
beautiful.
literally fill each other up. And
Absolutely.
it's like when the glove fits, it just fits. You
Yes.
just put it on and it's just like, whoop.
So perfect. I love it.
It's like, oh my goodness. So I am so excited. I'm so excited to everything, just to be able to walk with you, beside you on this journey, to invite so many more women into our space. And it is such a magical time. And no matter what we're going through on the back end, whatever difficulties, to know that we can share, we don't have to carry it alone,
That's right.
right? If you think about it,
Yeah.
I know there's stuff we won't talk about even now, but just I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's on your heart, but I'm like, I know that's where I'm meant. And it's natural for me.
Yeah.
And so I'll just say this part, like even just with Gabe, I'm like, I love you. It's my
Yeah.
baby. How did my baby like come to me?
Gabe
Right?
never asked to go to anybody's house. Yesterday he came, he said, can we go to Harp's house? I'm like, what? First of all, it's Auntie Harp. First of all, second of all, where are you trying to go? Like,
Love
I mean, he
him.
slept over a lot. It's just wild to me how comfortable he is, because he's a Capricorn. He's very particular. He loves his bed. He loves his home. He doesn't like going to other people's places, like, ever. So the
Love
fact that
it.
he's like, can we go? I'm like,
Yeah, and
okay.
so when it fits and you know what, you fall in love, everybody, it can happen so fast.
Yeah,
Think about sometimes your best relationships. When I think of every single one of mine, they're fast.
they click. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
husband was fast. I knew I was marrying him within days. We're
Wow.
like 33 years later, right? Honestly, 33 years coming up in 30-year like wedding anniversary. I think it's like 33, 34 years we've been together. I have to count now. But that fast, all of my best friendships, it was like instant because I
Yeah,
just believe either you vibe or you kind of don't.
totally.
So I'm open. I'm open
You're a
to I'm
full
so
body yes kind of girl. Yeah.
full body, yes. I'm like,
Yeah.
come here. Where have you been
Yes.
my whole life? That's so me. So, and I love that you are the same. You are
Yeah.
the same. So I am so excited. Honestly, I'm so
Me
grateful
too.
for you. I'm so excited to do this, and I can't wait to tell everyone what they missed out on.
I'm
So,
so
for
grateful.
those
I
of
know
you who,
we saw one of our sisters for like a split second. We'll share the recording. Everyone can watch it on their own time, and then we'll come back full circle next week. That's how it goes. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for
thank
showing up
you.
in my life. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And I'm just so forever grateful. So we'll read
Love
more
you.
next time. But yeah, drive safe, and I'll see you in half an hour.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, darling. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.